For most of us, every moment is a challenge to be engaged, connected, to experience a life that is fulfilling, that is happy, productive, where we have successful relationships and have less conflict. Well, these videos are created just for that, to help you experience the life that you always wanted by changing the architecture of your brain so the results that you have been looking for become automatic. Look, if you often experience sadness, you feel overwhelmed, maybe you feel like you don't matter, maybe you're fearful, maybe you're indecisive, or you feel angry all the time, or maybe you experience an internal dialogue that is defeating, then you might want to watch this series. And by the way, you're not alone. Most people feel that way. My name is Alberto Botero. I am a life coach and I have been one for over 25 years. And I'll be presenting in this series a process that I developed called Thinking in Images. This is a path to a much happier life. This process has helped greatly my clients in a very short period of time for them to live in the moment. Actually, this series came about as a suggestion of a couple of my clients. And in the coming chapters, I'll be answering the questions that they thought were the more relevant and important in their own process. Most people, if not all of us, will looking to find peace and happiness in a consistent basis, and not something that happens once in a blue moon because we're traveling, because we're getting a gift, because we meet someone, or because we're drinking. And there is thousands of ways in which we try to overcome our emotional obstacles, to be more inclusive or feel included. I've tried many different ways, along with liquor and other things. I went to a psychiatrist. I went to many different therapists from different schools, Gestalt, cognitive, behavioral. And I used some others that they were weird, to tell you the truth, but I was desperate. I wanted it to feel and experience life like it should be, not this thing that it feels like hell inside of my head. I tried meditations of all kinds. I attended a lot of transformational trainings. I conducted afterwards transformational trainings, and I became director of one of the biggest companies in transformational training here in the States. And what I noticed is that it helps. It definitely opened up a lot of stuff, but it didn't last. People start to have breakdowns at a different level. There is a cry from different disciplines, especially from neuroscientists, for an approach to mental health that is not symptomatic, not a band-aid, something that doesn't manage our symptoms, but rather something that actually alters or cures the root of the problem. Something that will give us the freedom to be engaged in the present moment, in our daily life, moment to moment. Life is happening now. Lisa Feldman Barrett, author of How Emotions Are Made, The Secret Life of the Brain, that she published in 2017, she's a scientist and she exemplified what the thinking in images process is all about with this analogy. So imagine that you're interested in changing how something tastes. Let's say, like baked bread. Well, you could just slather some butter on, or peanut butter and jam, or something. You could add something after the fact. Or you could just learn how it's made and you can alter the recipe. So, if we understand how emotions are made, and more so how our own brain works in relationship to our bodies, then we are in a better position to change the recipe, maybe even to change the ingredients. So in this series, I'll be introducing some concepts about the brain that will help us to equip ourselves with the tools needed to alter a present understanding of ourselves, giving us the opportunity to self-express in a powerful and unique way in a daily basis without being drowned by the noise in our heads. Look, We all know what it takes to live a proactive, connected, happy life. We have read enough, seen enough to be able to intellectually understand how to live that kind of life. And yet, we still don't know how to get there. How is that possible? What is it that my clients have been able to achieve? Well, they have been able to detach from who they think they were, that thing that we call me, that thing that you call you, freeing them to experience a life that is possible, away from the constant chatter of the mind, which so far was the only reality available to them. In this series, you would be able to understand how basic emotions like fear and pain play out in your lives, and how your relationship with them affects you and affects everyone around you. You will learn how to identify them for what they are and not to act on them. You see, the brain takes information through our senses, our eyes, our ears, and it warns us that events from our past will repeat or are repeating right now in this moment. Therefore, we're constantly reacting. So let's use the example of Lisa Feldman about the bread. So at some point in moment in our life, we got a moldy bread. And the brain is constantly looking for that evidence here in the present moment. And everything it sees, it equates it with, oh, that's another moldy bread. That's another moldy bread. It is warning us that whoever is coming is the moldy bread that we have in the past. So we're constantly pushing away, running away from the moldy bread, slathering with something, and we're constantly emotionally fighting or fleeing because we don't have any other alternative to that reality. So in some ways, this process is a reverse engineering of how mental trauma is created and represented in your brain. I won't give you any advice on how to live your life. Advice is like giving away cookies. We expect the cookies to be ready and taste like we want them to taste, but we become dependent on the chef. You won't find pearls of wisdom coming out from my mouth. I am not all enough. Well, let me take that back. I'm all enough, but I discovered to be less wise than I expected it to be at my present age. Besides that, you want to live your life on your own terms. So, although I will have to communicate concepts in some intellectual way, I will try to be as general as possible. So rather than you getting a bunch of intellectual information that you could store away with everything else you know, you'll have the opportunity to experience that, what I'm saying, and make the connections on your own. So your experience of life can change and in the process alter the architecture of your brain. If at some point in moments you find yourself saying, that makes sense, but I don't understand. Well, great. We don't want for you to understand. We don't want for you to put this together with what you already know. We want for you to experience this new information, because if you experience it, then again, your brain will transform. At some point, you might find yourself frustrated, trying to predict unsuccessfully what is coming next. Well, there is a reason for it. This is not a linear intellectual learning. You see, that's how we constructed the life that we have lived so far. And we definitely don't want to add to that. But this will force you to comprehend in a way that is not natural to you, at least not yet. So just hang in there. Just hang in there. Don't worry. Don't go anywhere. So you're going to have to do the work yourself. At times in an unnatural, frustrating way. So that is the whole point of this series, is for you to do the work, for you to connect the dots, and in the process change the architecture of your brain and how it works. You will learn to create anything you want. You will become the celebrity chef of your life. So that means you can create all kinds of bread that you want. Now, if you're worried about how could this be possible, it is too good to be true, don't be. Here is some science to encourage you that if you follow through with this process, the changes will be permanent. So here I'm quoting again from Lisa Feldman. And she said, I quote, "We know today that experience is a contributing factor to how we perceive reality. Your genes turn on and off in different contexts, in every interaction that you have, including the genes that shape your brain's wiring. Scientists call this phenomenon plasticity. That means some of your synapses, meaning connections between brain cells, that's how we store information, literally come into existence because other people talk to you or treat you in a certain way." Here is another. Neuroscientist and Nobel Prize laureate Eric Kandel has contributed greatly to the subject. And here what he says, that what is amazing about the brain is that an experience in your life, that an emotion that you feel, that a thought that you have is turned into a biological, physical reality by your brain in the moment. Isn't that great? So, okay, I will see you in episode 1 for a journey of discovery towards a happier life. Subscribe so you won't miss it, and invite your friends and loved ones to watch and discuss the videos. And please leave a comment or questions or suggestions for future videos in the comment section below.